family-owned shop in Loganville, Soesby's Garage for all your automotive repair needs. We service all makes and models, foreign and domestic. We repair engines, alternators, brakes, alignments, AC systems, and more, using certified technicians with over 90 years of combined experience. We also offer same-day service for some repairs. Soesby's Garage, 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville. Dependable, honest, and fair. Look us up on Google or Facebook. We'll take good care of you.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. It's time for Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. We are the cornerstone of security in the Southeast.
Hey, welcome everybody to Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. I'm your host, Rick Strawn, the president of Paradigm Security Services, and we're excited to be with you once again today on Business RadioX. We're coming to you live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio, located in the beautiful Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel in Duluth, Georgia. Each week, as you know, we plan to feature businesses in the Atlanta area, especially those that serve Gwinnett County. And while all businesses have some security issues, not all are about physical security. And we'll touch on that and related aspects of security through the course of each show. Our guest today, I am absolutely thrilled to have once again Nick Masino. He's kind of changed his job title since the last time we had him here with Partnership Gwinnett. He's now the president and CEO of the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. And appreciate you being here, Nick.
Thank you, Rick. It's an honor to be here with you, and I look forward to our conversation.
Well, you know, as you know, we do this as a conversation, and there's so much going on in Gwinnett County right now. And, you know, for one, I think you're tagged right in the perfect position. I'm not sure if that's the position you had in mind all along, but I think it probably somewhere down the road probably would fit in there somewhere. But you're perfect for the position, and, you know, I'm glad to see you there.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Well, let's just kick right in. You know, the Chamber has got a lot of stuff going on, like I said. And one of the biggest focuses that I know that your team is working on is the membership engagement. And can you tell us a little bit what's going on with the Chamber and how you're getting that involved?
Sure, absolutely. The Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, I was a member before I was ever an employee, and I was actually a board member as well in the past. I've always loved the organization. They've always had a staff that has been very focused on returning a value for the investment of chamber membership, and that is one of my main three focuses, is that we're doing everything we've always done, but taking it up a notch. And the term I continue to use with the team and the board is we need to give concierge service. And the one, we have different memberships. We have a general membership, which is based on the employee count within your organization. And then we have a more exclusive membership, which is called the Chairman's Club membership, which is really incredibly healthy. We have I think it's about 230 companies paying $5,500 a year. That's a considerable amount of money.
Yes, it is.
And we're honored that people have invested in us at that level. But I believe we need to up our efforts and our services. And so we've created a position, and we are in the midst of recruiting. So if any of your listeners at GwinnettChamber.org, that we're listing currently our three openings. One of is a Chairman's Club manager. And I refer to it as the concierge Chairman's Club manager. And this, Chairman's Club will have meetings for a year. They're great networking. It's very exclusive, really fun. When I say fun locations, they're very high-end, maybe someone would argue hoity-toity locations. The River Club, Sugarloaf, they're fancy. You know, you can't just walk in. You have to go through a security gate. But what I brought to the table is just thinking about things differently. And our first event that was outside of the traditional Sugarloaf, River Club, 1818 Club, is we had about 35 of our Chairman's Club members come out to Netherworld in the southwest corner of Gwinnett County, or southern corner of Gwinnett County, where we border Stone Mountain. And we had about 35 folks. We had a reception at Netherworld, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with Netherworld, is one of the top-rated haunted house experiences in both the United States and around the world.
Perfectly located where it is.
We're really excited. They were on I-85 for almost 25 years. They were leasing. They bought a new building down by the Stone Mountain Park, and it's just an absolutely awesome location. Because they have so much more space now and they control the space, they have pre-function space, they have post-function space. And so we had a reception, and then we all together went through the haunt together. There's 2 of them that they had during Halloween, and we had an absolutely fantastic time. And of the 35 people that went, I spoke to each one of them individually during and after, and they said that was it was more fun than they ever expected. And we probably have had another 30 people say, when can we go? And the answer is Halloween of 2020.
Yeah,
You're going to have to wait. So we're just going to try to do things that are more fun, engaging, always do the things that people expect us to do, but we really want to do unique things. One unique thing they did last year was they did a BMW drive event where they went and drove BMWs, these super fast sports cars, and literally we had Chairman's Club members behind the wheel, which sounds like a liability.
That's a scary.
It scared me just the thought of it. But we're going to do more of those things. And the one thing that we're kind of kicking around for 2020 is a Chairman's Club trip that could be a really unique, a place where you would never likely go on your own, like a tour of Vietnam. Maybe a trip to Cuba, going to a factory where they make cigars.
Now that's a good thing.
Right. I mean, for the right person, that might be the right thing. And, we'll always include a little bit of a business aspect to it, but not like we do a strategic leadership trip every year where it's very focused on business, economic development, redevelopment. You're learning the best practices of another community over 3 days. This thing's going to be a lot more fun than a lot less learning. But these are just some of the things that the leadership team and I are kicking around. We are moving forward with the manager, the concierge manager, and we're reviewing resumes now. But we'd still love more candidates if anyone's interested.
You never can have too many candidates because you never know which one you're missing when you don't.
Yes, and as you and I were chatting right before this started, the market is hot. It is definitely the candidates market right now.
Absolutely.
I don't know of a company that's literally not hiring. You're hiring. I'm hiring. Most of our members are hiring. And we've already missed out on one candidate in a position because we just weren't quick enough. So we are being very responsive to the candidates timeline, and trying to get back to people. Literally same day. And we've really moved our game forward and sped it up, so we don't leave candidates hanging.
Well, getting qualified is one thing, but getting quality is something else. And it's hard to really get the people that, you can find a lot of people that are qualified to do what you want them to do, but are they the right fit? And a lot of that's personality. A lot of it is there's just a lot of things that go with that. And that quality person is the one that you're looking for, and they're hard to find.
I totally agree. I use the word culture. They have to be a culture fit.
Absolutely.
And if you can get someone that just is teachable, they have some skills, some business acumen, but they may not know exactly what the job is, but they can fit your culture. It's hard to teach culture.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how you were raised and who you are as a person. The skills of working in a chamber, as long as you can just communicate and write and be responsive, we'll teach you the rest.
Yeah.
But culture is the most important thing, and those are the people that fit the culture. They always last longer. They always outperform the employees.
Well, the companies that don't try to fit to their culture don't keep their employees long, and they don't last long as a company. Well, you brought up something right here that is kind of big with especially with you, because you really enjoy doing it. You do a lot of development trips, and I know you've had some recent development trips that you've gone on. Can you kind of talk about some of those?
Sure. So the Chamber does the strategic leadership trip every year. We were in Denver. We've done these, we call them SLV, strategic leadership visits. We've actually done 13 years in a row. And we actually were in Denver 10 years ago. So it was our first time back to Denver, which that city has changed dramatically.
The 10-year challenge is big on Denver.
It's very impressive what has happened there. the story, as I've traveled around North America and then around the world, anytime you're having a discussion about redevelopment in a community, there's always a story of strong leadership and vision. And once again, we saw that in Denver. Because obviously Gwinnett County is not Atlanta. We are a part of Atlanta. I would argue the best part of Atlanta.
Yeah, I would too.
But we are a suburb, and a very large suburb of Atlanta. So when we go on those trips, we'll stay in the urban core so people can have things to do after
Something
the
to
events.
relate to.
Something,
Yeah.
but we always go out to the suburbs that are similar to us, that are growing, dynamic suburbs. Definitely when we're talking to folks in education, workforce, you could do the urban or suburban, but definitely with education, talent development, we definitely are out the suburbs talking to the schools and the workforce training. So that's a very successful program. Something that's I say not as it's newer, but we've still done it I think for about 7 or 8 years. Is our peer tour, and that's where we take Gwinnett elected officials, both city council members, mayors, county commissioners, county chair, appointed officials to downtown development authorities or Gwinnett County Planning Commission, and we've taken them to places within the southeast that we can get to very quickly and return the same day. I would say I think 5 of the 7 trips have been one-dayers where we go and explore redevelopment so they can see the best practices in development and redevelopment. So we've had some really great stories. We've learned a lot. I'd also say in that time period, the 8 to 13 years, we've seen redevelopment explode around Gwinnett County. Current projects right now, there's probably about $3 billion worth of development and redevelopment happening in Gwinnett County. You clearly can see it. There's more cranes in Gwinnett County than probably any time in the past.
Absolutely.
All of the municipalities are redoing their downtowns, and the economy is thriving right now.
Well, and that perfectly tags into something else I wanted to ask you about was new businesses coming to Gwinnett. We've got a tremendous number of new businesses, international and national, that are coming into Gwinnett. And there's a reason for that. Can you kind of talk to us about it?
Sure, absolutely. And you're exactly right, Rick. This year, actually, it's not over yet, but we've already broken all records in regards to what Partnership Gwinnett has worked on, which is, as you and I both know, is the economic development arm of the county, the chamber, the cities, and it's a public-private partnership. But they're at, I think, 3,200 new jobs on projects they worked on. The good news is in Gwinnett County, there are probably 10,000 new jobs. As you know, there's 20,000 businesses, another 10,000 sole proprietors. They all just hire one employee. Then the 20,000 businesses, there's 20,000 jobs.
Exactly.
So we've got a lot of new jobs. Just the projects we worked on at Partnership Gwinnett, it's about 3,200 new jobs and about $250 million in investment between these projects. We did have a very, very big announcement this year, which was obviously the Amazon robotic. Even though it's going to a lot of robotics, it's still going to hire. They're hiring hundreds of employees to maintain the robotics, maintenance, very technical jobs. And it's going to be a huge distribution facility.
Well, that's massive over there that sits between DeKalb and Gwinnett over there, Stone Mountain, that area. That it's just massive.
97% of Amazon is actually in Gwinnett County. So I don't really mention the 3% in DeKalb.
Well, 3%. Yeah, we could shave that off and still have the same thing.
It's a rounding error, right?
There you go.
But and actually, what's interesting is it's literally a block down the street from Netherworld that we talked about earlier. So a lot of great things happening in that corner of Gwinnett.
Well, it's just like with us, we're always hiring. We've got we're hiring 3, 4, 5. Of course, we may get rid of a couple here about the same time, but it's a constant process and a constant growth process. And there's so many businesses here within the Gwinnett County area and region wide as well, but especially with Gwinnett County, that are just leapfrogging what they were last year as far as their economic standing and where they are and the number of employees and the growth that they're going through.
Yeah, I see it every day as well, and people keep referring to a recession, but I'm not seeing any signs. The CEOs that I talk to are not seeing any signs. People are nervous because everyone's talking about it, but they don't see any financial
because
reasons.
It's blowing up. It's just going so good. People have they kind of think this just can't last. Well, it depends on Depends on who's in charge. I'll leave it at that.
Well, and obviously with a looming election next year,
Exactly.
I think people are just nervous anyway about change, and we're going to keep, Rick, you and I will be doing the same thing next year, no matter what the outcome is of the
Absolutely.
election.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the same thing, hopefully just as aggressively.
Yeah,
and
of
same
course.
way with the chamber.
Right.
I know that you've spent a lot of time. I know when you came into the position, the staff all had their jobs, their job descriptions, what they did, and all that. But I've noticed, and I'm sure that other people have too, that there's been a step up in that as far as what's expected and what you want them to do. Their job descriptions have changed drastically. So, your development and of the positions and of the staff, tell us about that, because that's changed a lot since you've taken over as the CEO.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to back up and just tell you a little story. Is when I took over on July 1st, I immediately scheduled, I blocked out 41-hour appointments on my calendar and asked all the staff in the chamber to schedule a meeting with me. It was not an interview. It wasn't a re-interview. I prepared them with about 5 questions, which was, tell me what you do. I've worked here for 13 years, so I kind of knew what people do. I know what they do, but I just wanted to hear from their own.
What they think they do.
What they think they do. I wanted to know what their great idea was. I wanted to know what they thought that we were doing well, what they thought that maybe we needed to improve. I asked them for what's the latest podcast or book that they've read, and just what's their one great idea. If they've never had a chance to sit down with the president and CEO of the chamber, what did they want to share with me? And it was just absolutely awesome. All the great ideas, all the enthusiasm. I will just say generally, and I think I think you and I can joke about this. The Gen Zs and the millennials are super positive, and the world's great. And then us Gen Xers and baby boomers, we're just a little bit more jaded because we have life experience. It was just interesting.
And you sit there and smile at the Gen Xs and millennials. Yeah,
the enthusiasm is contagious that they all have, and it was awesome.
You love it.
It really is. So after those, it ended up being 34 meetings. Some of them we ended up booking another meeting, and some of them I met with people for 2.5 hours. If you combine all 2 or 3 meetings, lots of great ideas, lots of strategy came out of it, and then because of obviously some retirements and some reorganization, I was able to reorg the senior leadership team. And so there's now 8 of us on the senior leadership team, actually 4 men and 4 women. And we did a retreat. We brought in a Patrick Lencioni consultant. We all read the book, The Advantage, which is a fantastic book that I would highly recommend to any leader, especially a team, someone that was leading a team. And the cohesiveness after that 2-day retreat, which just blew me away. I never expected it would be this effective and helpful. We had to do pre-work, personality tests, and then we shared our results.
That was enlightening.
Oh, it was fantastic. It really was, and it was great. It was interesting to me. Of the 7 other people on the senior leadership team, I'm the only one that had ever been to a business retreat that we experienced. Some had been church retreats, and other ones had just never done anything like that. So the business acumen, their experience, the widening of their business experience, really, they loved that. We came together. Our communication has been fantastic since. We've continued to get together. We're getting together once a month for 3 hours, working on items that we identified where we can improve, or new ideas and new strategies. And so we're much more, I think, strategic as a team than possibly we were in the past. The communication has been fantastic. And what we've identified is we've got to look at our benefits. They really hadn't been looked at in a decade. Things have changed clearly. Are we doing training or employee? And so I know that there's some employees that would put some things in their budget, but not actually go take the training, or take the training but not do anything with it. So we're really challenging the employee. I'm very inwardly focused the first 90 days, and now that has moved into outward focus, like the chairman's club position that I mentioned earlier. So it's really great, and the staff really seems to have responded well. I wouldn't say that folks job descriptions have changed. It's just their outlook and enthusiasm.
Maybe they understand them better.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I would also just say the enthusiasm is people feel heard, and their idea. I mean, my gosh, the amount of great ideas that came out of these listening sessions and our retreats, and now we're implementing those. People feel very part of the process.
Well, a lot of time, it's all about communication. We both know that, and a lot of times it's a matter of asking.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel it. They don't come to you and tell you, and they don't feel like anybody wants to know, just simply because nobody asked.
That I definitely heard that from some people, that they had these great ideas, but they just never felt like it was acceptable to share. And so I had a mandate that I said is, we're not going to continue to do things for the reason, well, we always have.
Exactly.
And we're not going to stifle ideas. We'll explore it. I mean, not every idea is a great idea, but we're like any other business where you try a product or service. If the market doesn't respond,
you move on.
You move on and try something else. And so I learned a long time ago, fast failures are much better than slow ones. And so let's try something. If it's not working, we'll try something else.
Well, you'd mentioned there's a lot of talk about the Revel going on. Can you talk a little bit about that and address it just a little bit? And
Sure.
I don't want to get into a big political thing here, but
sure. And the great news is, so you're talking about the Revel North American Properties Development,
correct?
That is in partnership with Explore Gwinnett County.
Yes.
So at the Infinite Energy Center, there has been a massive expansion in regards to parking, and then there's another $210 million of expansion that will happen. So right now, today, you'll see the 2 new parking decks that I think in total is almost 3,200 new parking spots. In 6 weeks, that will break ground on the 14-story Westin Hotel, which is a partnership between Concord Development and Explore Gwinnett and the Convention Center. And you'll see a dramatic expansion of the actual convention center over the next 24 months, doubling the size of the square footage of the convention space, redoing, modernizing the entire Gwinnett Convention Center, adding, I think, about 1,200 to 1,500 new seats to the arena. What I haven't mentioned is the Revel project, which is the more commercial side of the development. So in a nutshell, North American Properties, which is based in Cincinnati, Ohio, after working with them for let me back up. 3 years ago, through a very competitive bid process, some of the greatest developers in Metro Atlanta and Georgia put in a proposal, and it was narrowed down to North American Properties. North American Properties informed Gwinnett County officially a week ago that they were not able to financially move forward with the project. They're going into a different direction. They have had it appears to me to be a very large reorg. Many of the people that we've worked with over the last 3 years aren't there anymore, and people that are there are in
different positions.
They seem to be part-time. Their leadership is in Cincinnati, and they've just communicated. They've also announced publicly that there's a $2 billion project in Dunwoody called High Street that they were involved with, that they pulled out of that project as well. So depending on the newspaper or the news organization you listen to, you see a lot of different stories. The Business Chronicle story was definitely, I would argue, and I have argued with them, it wasn't accurate and didn't paint the real picture. And a lot of other agencies and organizations have painted the real picture, which is North America went through a rechange. What's interesting is the 7 finalists from 3 years ago, all 6 of the other finalists have already approached Explore Gwinnett and said, we would like to pick up where North American has stopped.
Terrific.
The thousands, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of square feet of letters of intent for both office and real estate, they're all calling Explore Gwinnett saying, how can we move forward with the project? And also about a half a dozen out-of-state developers have said, we'd love to get involved. So we're gonna what I suspect will happen, and this has not been outlined. There's no dates. This is just Nick's speculation. Is in the next 3 to 4 months, a RF, request for information, request for proposal, will go out, and it will be a very short timeline of receiving and making a decision on who the new development partner will be. I do think there will be some side-off developments that these are for-profit companies that want to be there, that we're just itching to break ground. Some of these things might move forward even quicker with some side-off developers, but for the massive development which will take place in the parking lot of the Infinite Energy Center, there's a lot of kind of out parcels that may happen, but that'll be chosen, I would say, in the next 4 to 5 months.
Well, that's fantastic. It kind of clears up the air a little bit on that, because there was a lot of miscommunication or disinformation out there that really, I think, needed to be aired out. Just remember that one of the things we've been doing the longest and doing the best as Paradigm Security is construction security. So just keep that in mind when, if anybody's out there and you can help us get an introduction or something.
It's interesting, Rick. When I think construction, I think safety and security, and I think of Paradigm.
Well, that's a good response. I love that. I'll ask you back later. You'll come back again. Well, listen, I want to tell you I appreciate it very much, the opportunity to have you come on and talk about the Gwinnett Chamber. I love it. I've been a member for many, many years. I tell people it works if you work it.
I appreciate that comment. That is Jim Moran, former chamber president, said that. Dr. Dan Kaufman, former chamber president, said that, and Nick Masino says it too. If you got to be present for it to work,
you got to work. And I appreciate it again. Just a quick hello and to our sponsor, Sotheby's Garage. Want just to make sure I get a cue in here for him. Some of their services include air conditioning systems, brakes, alternators, engines, and alignments. Excellent company. They are located at 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville, Georgia, 678-825-2127. They are awesome. So, again, I appreciate you being here. And thank you for joining us on Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. Remember, you can join us live every Wednesday at 11:30 in the morning, or you can listen to our show anytime you want by going to businessradiox.com, clicking on the Gwinnett Studio, and then, of course, click on Case in Point. Join us next week at 11:30, and we'll talk with business leaders about their businesses, related security issues in today's world. Thanks again to my guest, Nick Masino, President and CEO of the Gwinnett Chamber, and for our producer, Mike. And again, I am Rick Strawn, and remember, at Paradigm Security Services, we cover more than just your assets.